It was amazing. The way I got on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno was I came to Montreal. I was doing Just for Laughs, and I was doing musical stuff, and they were doing this bit from on the Tonight Show where they sent Fred Willard around with a few comics to people's homes. He would knock on their doors and say, "Have you been to the festival?" And they would say no, and we'd come in and they'd shoot us doing our act for people in their living room. And for me, Fred Willard, I loved him. Like, I
Of
just
course,
think he's
legend.
so
Yeah.
wonderful. And I met him, and he was everything just wonderful, like lovely, fantastic, funny, brilliant. And then from that, they had me come on and do it a few more times to where I go and make up songs about people and get people to sing songs on the street, make up songs for whatever reason. But that was fun. And then, so that was great. Just to meet him was incredible. Then to meet Martin Mull, who is one of my favorite comics. I don't know. He was on a show called Fernwood Tonight back in the day, and him and Fred Willard were the hosts of this small town public access talk show from a town called Fernwood that was so weird, like just the weirdest. It was fantastic, and and he's one of the funniest people ever. Like, I was on this Ellen DeGeneres's show, her second sitcom called The Ellen Show. I think it was called that. Anyway, and he played the principal, and this is something I like to do ever since I saw him do it. And that in every scene that someone comes in to start with him, he's on the phone, or
Right,
he's talking
right,
to someone
right.
outside the door, and he'll be like, just a second. So you can't put your fist in it; it gets too wet. You have to
Right,
put a bag over your fist. Okay,
right.
what? And then starts the scene, and it's hilarious, always great.
Right.
And
Right.
I love him. So that was a great moment. Having Ellen call me when I was backstage at the Last Comic Standing, and I knew I was gonna lose. Like, I knew I was gonna be voted out. I'd figured it out by guessing who was going when in the show and the live performance portion. And I was like, that's too bad. I was seventh out of whatever number. But Ellen DeGeneres called me and said backstage and said, "You're just so great. We love you, and we think you're hilarious." And I was just like, "Oh, it's really nice of you to do that."
Right.
I don't know, and that made me happy. What other crazy things? Um, it's my son. He's going to go and take a bowel movement in the kitchen. I
Oh,
can't
nice.
train him. I cannot
Wow.
train him. He's
That's
untrainable.
podcast gold. Yeah.
Podcast, if you know what I mean.
Yo.
Now, thank you. Thank you. I'm here all week.
See what you did there. He still got it, folks.
Yeah. Meeting William Shatner, I only shook his hand, but I was a huge original series Star Trek fan. I just love him. Who else have I met that I absolutely loved? So great moments. Oh God! I mean, the Jay Leno show. He was nice enough, but I kind of get the feeling like he would come down behind the scenes, and while you're waiting to do the show, you come into your dressing room and say, "Hey, how you doing, there? What kind of where you played around here? Tell me a little bit about yourself." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay." But then I realized that he only did it so I'd ask about him and what he was doing. It was weird, but I've never seen a guy who needs love more than that guy.
Right.
And the way he'd come out at the beginning of the show and touch everybody and people, I don't know, it was weird, but it was fun.
We all need more hugs. That's where it all comes from. None of us got enough. None of us got enough hugs.
I know. I get it. I'm trying to. I guess when I did my first Just for Laughs gala, that was really amazing. when I signed my first deal, I met Larry David. I was working in I was working on a series idea, and we were writing a pilot with Alan Zweibel, who used to write for Saturday Night Live back in the early days for Gilda Radner and stuff. And he had the office next door to Larry David, and he was working on the beginning of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So he'd just come into the office where we were working and hang around. And I didn't know what the hell was going on at that point. I didn't realize how huge he would be. So that was nice. I auditioned for that, didn't get it, but it was still nice to just go in and improvise with them. And that was really fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Lots of great, wonderful experiences, and you got to enjoy them. The good ones, really appreciate them. The bad ones, just forget them.
I'm curious. Did you say you're from Peterborough?
Yes.
Peterborough. So we share a lake. I'm an Aurelia boy.
Oh,
Lake
yeah.
Couchiching. Yeah.
Oh, I've been to Lake Couchiching camp.
Yeah.
It's wonderful there.
I'm curious. Your brain is. I did a Zoom show with you about a year ago, which that's a whole separate thing that we can talk about another time. But we did it for Black Sheep. I think it was Black Sheep Comedy. They do a lot of shows for breweries, and then during the pandemic, we did some Zooms. And I remember just watching you, and I'm like, man, I just love this guy's brain. It was so wacky and so silly. Where did that come from when you were younger? Was it a theater teacher, or was it someone in your family, or what was your original exposure, or was it TV shows like SCTV or whatever you grew up on?
SCTV is more like a satire show. There's some funny, like weird things in it. For me, watching things like Monty Python was how I started really loving comedy. And at the time, Steve Martin, Robin Williams, just really frenetic and weird. And I've always loved like Peter Sellers, just strange. And I really love the idea. My dream would be to have no material and just come out and improvise a whole show and just talk about whatever comes into my mind. I love stream of consciousness. I love disassociative things. Like I read a lot and I take in all these different bits of information and then I just let them, simmer in there. And then I just spew them out and then try and justify that they belong together in some way or not, just whatever's the funniest way to do things. And so I've never really, I don't think of myself really as a stand-up comic. I kind of am a cabaret performer and I don't know what it would be called, but it's like I don't really write jokes. I don't love being confined to jokes. It's really hard for me, like to do Just for Laughs and do The Southern Lawyer, and I was like, I had to find a way to. You get 8 minutes,
right?
And so I had to come up with one bit that was 8 minutes long, and you had to repeat it and repeat it. Like you just couldn't. Whenever you do these television shows, like where they tell you got 12 minutes, they won't allow you to just go out and freak out. You have to just you have to send them the material. They approve it. They tell you how long it is and how and it's not fun. I don't love that. I love just living in a moment, and that's what that's where I always love science fiction and weird things and but I guess it comes from absurdity and Monty Python. I think that was my first love, was Monty Python, and the early days of Saturday Night Live with Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi and Bill Murray, where it was a little more out there, like a little. Now it's very corporate, like it's very packaged. Then it was like, oh, you could see backstage. There's a hole in the set or whatever, and it was just really seat of the pants, and that was really fun.